The massive alien ship Starwind drifted through empty space toward the dead human world. Captain Velcron stood on the bridge, his four eyes scanning the planet below. Like all the others, it looked abandoned. Empty cities stretched across the surface, their lights still glowing after 2,000 years. Another ghost world, muttered his second officer, Tekmar. The blue-skinned Zephyrian shook his head sadly. They all looked the same. Humans just vanished one day and left everything behind. Velcron nodded. He had seen dozens of these worlds during his career. Human colonies scattered across the galaxy, all abandoned at the same time. No bodies, no signs of struggle, no explanation. The greatest mystery in galactic history. Dr. Nockwin floated beside them, her tentacles tapping nervously on her scanner. The Aquarian scientist had spent her whole life studying human ruins. "This planet is different," she said, pointing at her readings. "There's something buried deep underground, something big." The landing party took 3 shuttles down to the surface. The human city looked exactly like the day its people left. Vehicles sat in streets with their doors open. Food remained on tables in restaurants. Children's toys lay scattered in playgrounds. It was like the entire population had simply walked away in the middle of their daily lives. "Always gives me the creeps," whispered Yulgon, the team's security chief. The tall, gray-skinned Altarian kept his weapon ready, though they had never found anything dangerous on these worlds. They followed Dr. Nockwin's scanner signals to the edge of the city. There, hidden beneath a hill covered in strange crystal trees, they found it. A massive metal door built into the hillside marked with human symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. "The power readings are incredible," Dr. Nockwin said, her voice shaking with excitement. "After 2,000 years, this facility is still running on full power. The humans built this to last. It took them 6 hours to figure out how to open the door." Human technology was always like that. Simple on the surface, but impossible to understand underneath. When the massive portal finally slid open, cool air rushed out, carrying the scent of growing things. Inside, they found corridors that stretched deep into the planet. The walls were covered with displays showing star maps, mathematical formulas, and images of space that hurt to look at directly. Everything was clean and new, as if the facility had been built yesterday. "Look at these calculations," Dr. Nockwin whispered, studying one of the wall displays. "These numbers don't make sense. They're working with mathematics we haven't discovered yet." Deeper they went, past laboratories filled with strange machines and rooms containing what looked like small suns floating in containment fields. The facility was huge, maybe the size of an entire city built underground. At the center, they found the main chamber. It was a vast spherical room with a single platform in the middle. Above the platform, holographic displays showed the entire galaxy, spinning slowly in 3 dimensions. "Incredible," breathed Captain Velcron. "The humans mapped every star system in the galaxy. Look at the detail." But Dr. Nockwin was staring at something else. Along the edges of the galaxy display, dark shapes moved in the empty space between galaxies. "Captain," she said quietly, "what are those things?" Before anyone could answer, Yulgon accidentally stepped on something. There was a soft beeping sound, and suddenly the entire chamber came alive. Lights blazed, computers hummed, and the galaxy display began spinning faster. "What did you do?" Captain Velcron shouted. "I don't know." Yulgon stepped back as more displays activated around them. "I just touched this pad on the floor." The galaxy display zoomed in on their current location. A bright red dot appeared where they stood, and then began pulsing. Each pulse sent out a wave that spread across the entire galaxy map. "It's some kind of signal," Dr. Nockwin realized. "We just activated a beacon that's broadcasting to the entire galaxy." The signal moved fast, faster than anything they knew could travel. Within minutes, it had reached every corner of their home galaxy and kept going, shooting out into the dark space beyond. Captain Velcron grabbed his communicator. "Starwind, this is the landing party. We need immediate evacuation. We've accidentally activated some kind of human device." But as they waited for pickup, something strange happened. The dark shapes on the edge of the galaxy display began to glow. Far out in the space between galaxies, something was responding to their signal. Dr. Nocwin's scanner went crazy, detecting massive energy signatures from impossible distances. "Captain," she whispered, "I think we just woke something up." Back on the ship, they watched as their long-range sensors detected the impossible. Massive objects were moving in the void between galaxies, objects bigger than anything any known species could build, and they were all heading toward the Milky Way. Captain Velcron sent an urgent message to the Galactic Council. For 2,000 years, they had wondered what happened to humanity. Now they were about to find out. In the darkness between stars, the human fleet had received the call to come home. Admiral Kim Soo opened his eyes as the beacon's signal reached his mind. Around him, the command center of the massive ship New Hope hummed with sudden activity. After 2,000 years of waiting, the call had finally come. He looked exactly as he had the day humanity left the galaxy. Tall, with dark hair and calm eyes. But inside, he was no longer fully human. None of them were. The long journey between galaxies had changed them all. "Admiral," said Li Min, appearing beside him like a ghost made of light. She had been his second in command for 800 years. "All 12,000 ships are receiving the signal. The beacon is from Kepler 442b. Kim Soo nodded. He remembered that world. They had built the underground facility there as a test, one of many backup plans they had prepared before leaving. "Status of the home galaxy?" Commander Park Hoon materialized. Next to them, his form shifting between solid and energy. "Long-range scans show the same species still fighting over the same territories. The Galactic Council controls most systems, but there are constant wars. Nothing has changed." This made Kim Soo sad but not surprised. When humanity had tried to warn the other species about the coming danger, they had been laughed at, called cowards and fearmongers. The aliens had been too busy fighting each other to listen. "And the Devourers?" he asked quietly. Park Hoon's expression darkened. 3 galaxies in the Void Cluster have gone completely dark. They're consuming everything faster than we predicted. At current speed, they'll reach the Milky Way in less than 50 years. Kim Soo walked to the great window that showed the endless darkness between galaxies. Out there, floating in the void, were 12,000 ships like his, each one the size of a small moon, carrying millions of humans who had evolved far beyond what they once were. The journey had been long and dangerous. They had traveled through space where no stars shone, surviving on stored energy and recycled matter, but they had not been idle. While the galaxy's species fought their petty wars, humanity had been learning the deepest secrets of the universe. Dr. Song Hai joined them, her consciousness flickering in and out of multiple dimensions. As their chief scientist, she had led the great work of human evolution. "The integration process is complete," she reported. "All humans now exist in both physical and quantum states. We can manipulate matter and energy at the most basic levels." Kim Soo remembered the early days of the project, frightened humans fleeing their home galaxy, carrying their children and their hopes in massive ships. They had been ordinary people, then scientists, farmers, artists, soldiers. The journey had transformed them into something unrecognizable. "Admiral," said Captain Jiang Min from the communications center, "we're receiving response signals from other ARC ships. All commanders are ready to begin the return journey." Through the ship's quantum network, Kim Soo could feel the minds of 2 billion humans scattered across the fleet. They were no longer individuals in the old sense, but connected in ways that let them share thoughts and experiences instantly. Yet somehow, they had kept their humanity, their care for life and each other. "Begin charging the reality drives," Kim Soo ordered. "We're going home." The ship around him began to change. What had looked like metal walls became flowing patterns of light and energy. The New Hope was not just a ship anymore. It was a living extension of the human consciousness that inhabited it. Young Han Sol, barely 200 years old, brought news from the sensor stations. "Admiral, the deep space monitors are showing massive movement in the void. The Devourers are accelerating their approach. They know we're coming." Kim Soo felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold of space. The Devourers were not just predators, they were something far worse. Entities that consumed the very foundations of reality itself, leaving behind nothingness that could never be filled again. They can sense our return, he realized. They know we're the only ones who can stop them. Dr. Song Hae nodded grimly. The quantum experiments we've been running for 2,000 years have probably been detected across multiple dimensions. They know we've learned to manipulate the basic forces of reality. The Admiral looked out at his fleet one more time. 12,000 ships carrying the last hope of not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. The species that had rejected them, called them cowards, would now depend on them for survival. Open a channel to all ships, he commanded. His voice reached every human mind in the fleet instantly. My friends, our long exile is ending. The home we left behind is in danger from forces beyond imagination. The same species that mocked our warnings now face extinction. We could let them face this alone, but that would not be human. Throughout the fleet, 2 billion evolved humans felt the weight of the decision before them. We are no longer what we were when we left, Kim Soo continued. We have become something greater, something capable of rewriting the laws of physics themselves. But we must never forget why we developed these powers: to protect life, to preserve hope, to ensure that consciousness itself survives in this universe. The response was immediate and unanimous. Every human in the fleet agreed. They would return to save those who had cast them out. Set course for the Milky Way, Admiral Kim Soo ordered. Maximum speed. Reality itself depends on what we do next. The great fleet began to move, bending space around them as they traveled, faster than light itself. After 2,000 years, humanity was coming home. The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Council headquarters on Nexus Prime. Supreme Counselor Thekmar rushed to the emergency meeting room, his 6 legs clicking rapidly on the metal floor. Around the table sat representatives from every major species in the galaxy, all looking confused and scared. Report, Thekmar demanded, settling into his chair. Professor Colwyn, the galaxy's top scientist, stood up nervously. His hands shook as he activated the holographic display. Sir, our deep space sensors have detected massive gravitational distortions approaching from the Andromeda direction. The readings are impossible. The display showed waves of bent space moving toward their galaxy at incredible speed. According to our calculations, Colwyn continued, these distortions are caused by objects moving faster than light should allow. Each object appears to be the size of a small moon. General Yundar of the military fleet slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. No species has the technology to build ships that large. You must be wrong. I've checked the readings 50 times, Colwyn replied. Whatever is coming, it's bigger than anything we've ever seen. 3 days later, they got their answer. The first human ship appeared near the abandoned colony world of New Sol. It materialized out of nowhere, simply appearing in empty space like it had always been there. Captain Zilgon of the patrol ship Swift Hunter was the first to see it. Control, this is impossible, he radioed back to headquarters. There's a ship here, but it's not like anything in our databases. It's beautiful. The human vessel looked like it was grown rather than built. Its surface flowed like liquid, metal, changing shape as they watched. Energy crackled around it in patterns that made space itself shimmer. Then came the message. Every communication device in the galaxy received it at the same time, broadcast through methods that bypassed all known technology. The image of a young human man appeared on every screen, speaking in perfect translation to every species. Greetings, the human said calmly. I am Ambassador Choi Jung, speaking for the human fleet. We have returned to our home galaxy after 2,000 years of absence. Do not be afraid. We come in peace. At the council headquarters, chaos erupted. The humans are back, shouted General Yundar. After all this time, they've returned. But Supreme Counselor Thekmar felt only dread. He remembered the old stories, the warnings the humans had given before they vanished. Warnings about something terrible coming from the darkness between Galaxies. Within hours, the abandoned human worlds came alive. On New Sol, impossible machines rose from the ground and began changing the very air. The planet had been a dead rock for 2,000 years, its atmosphere poisoned by industrial accidents. Now, in just a few hours, it was becoming green again. Dr. Vilnara, a biologist studying the transformation, could barely believe her readings. "The atmospheric processors are working at impossible speeds," she reported. "They're not just cleaning the air, they're rebuilding it from scratch, creating new oxygen, filtering out toxins, even adjusting the planet's magnetic field." On the water world of Aquas Prime, dead oceans suddenly teemed with life again. Fish that had been extinct for centuries swam in waters that had been lifeless just hours before. Trees grew from barren soil so fast that people could watch them reach toward the sky. "They're not just terraforming," Dr. Vilnara whispered to her team. "They're bringing back life itself. This is technology beyond anything we understand." The Galactic Council sent Ambassador Yundar to make first contact. His ship approached the largest human vessel, a massive structure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. When he boarded, he found himself in a world that defied understanding. The human ship was alive. Walls flowed like water, floors felt like grass, and the air itself seemed to think. Ambassador Choi Jung met him in a garden that somehow existed inside the ship, complete with a blue sky and floating islands. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dawn," Choi Jung said, appearing to be in his 30s, but with eyes that held centuries of experience. "I hope you find our home comfortable." "Home?" Yundar asked, confused. "This ship has been our world for 2,000 years, Choi Jung explained. "We have learned to make our vessels extensions of ourselves, living spaces that respond to our thoughts and needs." Yundar's training told him to ask about military strength, about intentions, about threats. Instead, he found himself asking, "Why did you leave us?" Choi Jung's expression grew sad. "We tried to warn you about the Devourers, entities from beyond the galaxy that consume reality itself. You called us cowards for suggesting we run. So we left to prepare." "Prepare for what?" "To save you," Choi Jung said simply. "We knew that one day the Devourers would come. We knew that when they did, the galaxy would need protectors who understood how to fight them." Admiral Kim Soo materialized beside them, his form shifting between solid matter and pure energy. "Ambassador Yundar," he said, "I must ask you to return to your leaders with a message. We have little time." Yundar stared at the admiral, barely recognizing him as the same species that had fled long ago. "What message?" "The Devourers are coming," Kim Soo said. "They will arrive in less than 40 years. Every species in this galaxy must choose, work with us to survive or face extinction alone." When Yundar returned to the council, he brought recordings of what he had seen. The flowing ships, the impossible terraforming, the humans who seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. "They're not the same species that left," he reported to the stunned assembly. "They've become something else, something beyond our understanding." "Are they a threat?" asked General Yundar. Ambassador Yundar thought of the gardens floating in space, of the dead worlds brought back to life, of Admiral Kim Soo's sad eyes when he spoke of the coming darkness. "No," he said quietly. "They're our only hope." The emergency meeting lasted 3 days. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy gathered on Nexus Prime, arguing loudly about what to do with the returning humans. Some wanted to welcome them back. Others demanded they leave immediately. General Yundar pounded his fist on the table. "They abandoned us 2,000 years ago. Now they return with impossible technology and expect us to bow down to them? Never." But Supreme Counselor Thekmar remembered the old warnings. Deep in the council archives were human reports about something called the Devourers, reports that had been dismissed as fear and lies. The argument ended when the sky began to tear. Dr. Colwyn was the first to detect it. His deep space sensors picked up readings that made no sense. "There's a rip in space itself," he reported, his voice shaking. Something is coming through. The tear appeared near the galaxy's outer rim, a wound in reality that leaked darkness. Through it came something that hurt to look at directly. A mass of twisted space that moved with hungry purpose toward the nearest star system. Captain Velcron's patrol ship was closest to the disturbance. Control. This is Starwind. We're approaching the anomaly. I don't understand what I'm seeing. The thing that came through the tear was roughly the size of a small warship, but it didn't follow normal rules. It seemed to exist in several dimensions at once, constantly changing shape. Where it moved, space itself looked sick. It's heading for the Kalos system, Velcron reported. Should we intercept? Before Control could answer, they watched in horror as the entity reached the system's outer planets. It didn't attack them or destroy them. It simply made them stop existing. One moment there were 3 rocky worlds orbiting a yellow sun. The next moment there was empty space where they had been. The planets are gone, Velcron whispered. Not destroyed. Gone. Like they were never there. The entity moved to the star itself. The ancient sun, which had burned for billions of years, simply vanished. No explosion, no collapse. It was there. And then it wasn't. The entire star system became empty space in less than an hour. At the council headquarters, panic spread through the assembly. What was that thing? Shouted Ambassador. Zilmar Dr. Songhai materialized in the center of the room, her human form flickering between dimensions. The council representatives jumped back in fear, but she raised her hands peacefully. That was a Devourer scout, she explained calmly. The smallest type. A single entity sent ahead to test your defenses. The main swarm numbers in the millions. General. Yundar drew his weapon. Stay back, human, we don't trust you. Songhai looked at him sadly. General, your weapon fires energy bolts. The Devourers consume energy as food. You might as well try to kill a fire by feeding it wood. She gestured, and holographic displays filled the air around them. The Devourers don't just destroy matter and energy. They erase the quantum foundations that allow reality to exist. They turn existence into nothingness that can never be fixed. The displays showed galaxy after galaxy going dark. Entire spiral arms of stars simply vanishing as the cosmic predators swept through them. We tried to warn you about this 2,000 years ago, Songhai continued. Your ancestors called us liars and cowards, so we left to find a way to fight them. Supreme Counselor Thekmar stepped forward. And did you find a way to fight them? In answer, a human ship appeared in the space above Nexus Prime. Captain Jiangmin's vessel, the Quantum Tide, looked like a sculpture made of flowing light. It moved toward the tear in space where more Devourers were beginning to emerge. The battle lasted only minutes, but it changed everything the galaxy thought they knew about warfare. The human ship didn't use weapons in any normal sense. Instead, reality itself bent around it. Where the Devourers tried to erase existence, the humans rewrote the laws of physics to make erasure impossible. When the fight ended, both the Devourers and the tear in space were gone. Not destroyed, but somehow convinced that they had never existed in the first place. How? Whispered Dr. Colwyn, staring at his readings. We learned to manipulate the quantum field that underlies all reality, Songhai explained. We can rewrite the basic rules that govern existence itself. It took us 2,000 years to master this power. Admiral Kim Soo appeared beside her, his form shifting between matter and energy. The main Devourer swarm will arrive in 37 years, he announced to the stunned assembly. When they come, they will consume this entire galaxy, unless we stop them. What do you want from us? Asked Thekmar quietly. Unity, Kim Soo replied. Every species working together under human coordination. We have the power to fight the Devourers, but we need your cooperation to protect all inhabited worlds simultaneously. General Yundar laughed bitterly. And if we refuse, will you force us? Kim Soo's expression grew sad. General, we spent 2,000 years becoming powerful enough to save you. We didn't become conquerors. The choice is yours. But some species chose resistance, The hegemony fleet, led by War Commander Tekvor, attacked a human ship near the border worlds. It was a brief conflict. The human vessel didn't fight back in any normal way. Instead, it made the concept of conflict impossible in the surrounding space. Weapons simply refused to fire. Aggressive thoughts became peaceful ones. War became cooperation through localized manipulation of reality itself. Within a week, every major species had accepted human leadership, not through conquest, but through the undeniable proof that humanity had evolved beyond conventional warfare. "We don't want to rule you," Kim Soo explained at the final council meeting. "We want to teach you to transcend your limitations the way we did. Together, we can not only survive the devourers, but build something greater than any of us imagined possible." The galaxy held its breath as 37 years of preparation began. The day arrived with darkness. Across the galaxy's outer rim, tears in space opened like wounds bleeding shadow. Through them came the devourer swarm, thousands of entities that existed beyond normal understanding, each one hungry for the quantum foundations of reality itself. Commander, Li Yun stood in the center of the human battle network. Her consciousness expanded across all 12,000 ARC ships. Around her, the command center of the Eternal Dawn pulsed with energy that connected her mind to every human in the fleet. "All positions report ready," announced Captain Han Sol from his station. The integration was complete, not just humans working together, but every species in the galaxy linked through quantum networks that allowed instant communication across impossible distances. Through the connection, Li Yun could feel the minds of billions. Zephyrian pilots whose ships now bent space around them. Altarian engineers whose weapons rewrote physics with each shot. Aquarian scientists whose thoughts moved faster than light itself. Humanity had not conquered them. They had evolved them. "Enemy, contact in Sector 7, reported Dr. Kim Yeon from the Reality Monitoring Station. "A Class 5 Devourer is approaching the Centauri system." Li Yun focused her attention on that distant battlefront. Through the quantum network, she watched as Captain Park So's ship engaged the cosmic predator. The Devourer was massive, a writhing mass of twisted space that made stars flicker just by existing near them. But Park So's vessel, crewed by both humans and evolved Zephyrians, fought back in ways that defied understanding. Where the Devourer tried to erase matter, they reinforced it with quantum stability. Where it attempted to unravel energy, they wove it back into stronger patterns. "Devourer neutralized in Sector 7, Park So reported. "Converting entity to beneficial matter, creating new star system where it tried to create void." This was humanity's greatest discovery during their long exile. They had learned not just to destroy the Devourers, but to transform them into something that helped life instead of consuming it. But the main battle was just beginning. Through the largest tear in space came something that made the previous entities look tiny. A Devourer Lord, ancient and vast, that had consumed entire galaxies. Its presence alone began unmaking nearby star systems. "I'll handle this one," Admiral Kim Soo announced calmly. Li Yun felt fear through the network. "Admiral, the quantum readings are off the scale. This entity has power levels we've never encountered." Kim Soo smiled, his form already beginning to shift from matter to pure consciousness. "Which is why I need to become something we've never been before." He walked to the center of the command room and sat down in the quantum integration chair. "Li Yun, you'll need to coordinate the fleet while I'm gone." "Gone where?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Into the quantum field itself. I'm going to merge with the fundamental forces that hold reality together. From there, I can rewrite the laws of physics for the entire galaxy." The process was beautiful and terrifying to watch. Admiral Kim Soo's physical form dissolved into patterns of light that spread outward at impossible speeds. His consciousness expanded beyond individual existence, becoming one with the quantum threads that connected every atom in the galaxy. Through the network, every thinking being felt his presence, not controlling but supporting, like a foundation beneath reality itself. "I can see everything." His voice came from everywhere at once. "Every star, every planet, every living thought. The devourers feed on the quantum chaos that exists between ordered states. But what if there was no chaos? What if consciousness itself became the organizing principle of reality? The change began slowly, then accelerated. Throughout the galaxy, the fundamental laws of physics started shifting, not breaking, but evolving. Matter became more responsive to conscious will. Energy began following patterns of thought rather than random motion. The boundary between mind and universe started dissolving. The Devourer Lord found itself unable to function. Its entire existence depended on consuming the quantum chaos that no longer existed. Where once there had been random fluctuations in space-time for it to devour, now there was ordered consciousness directing every interaction. "What have you done?" the entity communicated, its thoughts reaching across dimensions. "Given consciousness authority over reality," Kim Su replied from his transcendent state. "You can no longer unmake what thinking beings choose to preserve." The transformation spread to the smaller devourers throughout the galaxy. One by one, they found themselves unable to consume existence. Instead, they began changing, their hunger-driven nature shifting into something that helped create rather than destroy. Dr. Song Hai watched the readings from her station, tears streaming down her face. The quantum field is stabilizing. Reality itself is becoming conscious. We're not just saving the galaxy, we're evolving it into something that can never be unmade. Through the network, every species felt the change. Zephyrian artists found they could paint with light itself. Altarian builders discovered they could shape matter with pure thought. Aquarian philosophers realized they could explore concepts that became real just by thinking them. "Is this what we were meant to become?" asked Ambassador Choi Jung, his form now shifting freely between dimensions. From his state of universal consciousness, Admiral Kim Su's laughter filled every mind in the galaxy. "This is what we choose to become. That's the most human thing of all. The power to decide our own fate and help others do the same." The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Across the galaxy, species that had spent millennia fighting over resources now worked together to explore realities where scarcity was impossible. The Devourers, transformed by exposure to conscious reality, became gardeners of new forms of existence. Li Yun stood in the observation deck, watching as new stars formed from pure thought, their light carrying the songs of 1,000,000,000,000 grateful worlds. "We came back to save them," she whispered. "And they saved us right back," came Kim Su's voice, warm with love for every living thing in his care. The galaxy had been reborn, and consciousness itself had become the architect of its own infinite future.